A lie that is half-truth is the darkest of all lies. Alfred Lord Tennyson. Welcome back to the Dojo, the series where I teach you the skills necessary to identify and protect yourself from gynocentric and feminist threats. Before we get started, it's important to revisit my rule for relationships, and that is, too many people wrongly believe the default setting in a relationship should be listen and believe. It's not. It should be to neither trust nor distrust, then reconcile and analyze her words and actions over time to determine her trustworthiness and investment. Never invest in a relationship any more than she invests in return. If you define the relationship beyond the actual level of investment you're receiving, you'll set yourself up to be taken advantage of. It's important to realize the relationship is over when her investment stops, not when you part ways. This 3-part mini-series will deconstruct this rule and explain why you might want to consider making it your baseline for approaching all relationships with women. It might also be a good primer to introduce blue-pilled friends to red-pilled wisdom. So, how do we determine whether or not a relationship is worth our time? Well, that's easy. We frequently, consistently, and objectively assess it. The easiest way to assess it is using a combination of verifiable facts and observable reality to reconcile her words with her actions to determine how sincere her investment in the relationship truly is. With that in mind, what is reconciliation? Well, for purposes of our conversation, we're going to look at 2 definitions. The first definition comes from Investopedia. Reconciliation is an accounting process that uses 2 sets of records to ensure the figures are correct and in agreement. It confirms whether the money leaving an account matches the amount that's been spent, ensuring the 2 are balanced at the end of the recording period. The purpose of reconciliation is to provide consistency and accuracy in financial records. Reconciliation is particularly useful for explaining the difference between 2 competing financial records or account balances. Some differences may be acceptable due to the timing of payments and deposits. Unexplained or mysterious discrepancies may be signs of theft or cooking the books. And the second definition comes from thebalance.com, which defines reconciliation in banking as: bank reconciliation is the practice of comparing your records against the bank records. A monthly reconciliation helps you identify any unusual transactions that might be caused by fraud or accounting errors. So when applied to relationships, what does this mean? Well, it means that in the beginning stages of a committed relationship, we should, at least once a week, reconcile her words with her actions and take note of things that are either unexplained or otherwise questionable. Things such as admissions of prior infidelity, because if she's cheated before, she'll cheat again. Her level of attention on you when you're together. Does she consistently take other people's calls, or does she text others while you're together? If she does, you're not the priority, they are. When you're not together, does she take your calls or timely respond to your texts? If not, you're not the priority. Are there large blocks of time where she disappears or is otherwise accounted for? This would include times she tells you what she did, but is overgeneral or ambiguous about it. For example, she told you she went to the mall or out to eat, but leaves out details such as who she was with, what she purchased, why she was there, etc. However, sometimes what she will do is provide you a very wordy explanation that is extremely non-informative. If either of these are the case, that's an indicator she might be lying by omission or concealing another man. This is especially true if she participates in social activities such as a sports team that she keeps you in the dark about, or if she often attends conventions or expos and all communication goes dark during that period. Oftentimes, this is an indicator she's deep into the cock carousel. It's also very common if she's seeing someone she met through her job. Speaking of her job, if she's ambiguous about her job or never talks about it, then this is an issue, especially if she often talks about being hit on at work. In addition, be concerned about extended periods of absence that are explained as time with quote-unquote mom or her quote-unquote gay friend. A few months ago on the TFM show, a guy was being cheated on by his wife. During this time, she told him she was spending large amounts of time with her mom, when in fact she was actually sleeping with his friend and coworker. Then, when she asked for an open relationship, she started sleeping with her coworker openly, and her appointments with her mom mysteriously stopped. If she says she spends lots of time with her mom, but they don't seem very close, or whenever you see them together, they can only get along for short periods of time, then you know she's lying. My ex was cheating on me with a guy she was passing off as her gay friend, who also happened to be her coworker. However, if you know what to look for, these situations are easy to spot, and they're more common than you might think. Speaking of friends, if she never talks about them or only discusses them rarely, then she's keeping you away from them or ignorant of them for a reason. What I'm describing here is compartmentalization, where she's involved you in one area of her life, but kept you in the dark about the rest. If she's doing this, remember, there is always a reason, and it's usually because you're not the only guy she's seen. Compartmentalization is also a key indicator she's not mentally stable. Common signs of this will be a history of troubled relationships. For example, she's either never had one, or they've all been extremely unhealthy. Or she's exhibiting signs of anxiety or depression. In some cases, women who compartmentalize become narcissists. They all think they're a lot smarter than they truly are. When this happens, you know she's definitely not worth committing to, and definitely not worth cohabitating or marrying. I'll explain why in far greater detail in part 3 of this series. If you see signs of any of this, just ghost her or back away. But do not confront her on this, because if you do, she'll realize she's been caught, and that's when the false allegations of abuse and sexual assault start to happen, in order to cover up for her being an unethical slut. In part 2, I'll be discussing the ways to test and determine whether or not she's a bad investment. If you've enjoyed this video, found it educational or insightful, please like, share, and subscribe to my channel. And don't forget to hit the bell so you'll be notified when I upload new content. You can also support my work on Patreon, and make sure you check out my sponsor, The Dollhouse. And in case I'm targeted by YouTube, I also mirror all my content on Bitchute and MGTOW.com. All the links are in the description. I'm DDJ, and this has been your dose of misandry today.